Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about Pakistan's war against terrorism, also the recent spike in terrorist attacks that we've seen, the attacks recently, of course, also as far as today is concerned, a policeman was martyred again. We'll be talking about the ramifications of overall the security situation. The national security meeting has been taken up again. It will be taken up again on Monday. To talk about what's happening as far as Pakistan's, the terrorism at this time is concerned, the spike is concerned, our hold on our forces, our hold on terrorism overall is concerned. We'll be talking about all of that today. Of course, there's also an emphasis on the fact that the national coordination, there needs to be concentration on coordination between federal and federal and national level. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the need to implement the National Action Plan. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Dr. Toral Yameen, who is a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll later be joined by other guests. Dr. Sab, like we were earlier talking about, we have unfortunately seen a recent spike in terrorism. And of course, it's been concerning. We've seen the government take it up immediately, the National Security Committee, all of that. Overall, what is your assessment? Of course, there's also a lot being said about talks with the TTP and whether, how maybe that needs to be. There are opinions on that also. How do you look at it?
MAHRUKH, talks from position of weakness is never recommended. And when the previous government suggested that you talk to the TTP, it was a bad move. And this government also continued with the policy of talking with them. So this all gives an indication that the people in power who are running the government are seeking a policy of appeasement. So Taliban do not understand of any appeasement. They mean business. They've been killing our soldiers and our policemen every day. You just mentioned that one policeman was killed today.
Yes.
So if you continue talking with them, they will continue killing your people and there'll be no end to it. So I think there is no need to talk to them. They only understand action.
Right. I have with me Gohar Mahsood, who is a security analyst. Gohar Saab, can you hear me? Gohar Saab. Naveed Aman Khan, who is a senior journalist and a columnist, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Naveed Saab, overall, as far as the situation at this time is concerned, we're talking about our policy as far as Taliban is concerned, the TTP is concerned. Overall, as far as the security is concerned, how do you look at the situation? Of course, like I said, the National Security Committee is going to meet again on Monday to continue deliberating on what the situation is now. How do you look at it? Naveed Saab, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, Ji. In fact, Pakistan is already late on taking such measures. Pakistan has long been suffering from the serious attacks of terrorism. In fact, since 9/11, Pakistan has been facing the most damages in the region. The National Security Committee meetings, the action plans has already been should have already been taken by the security forces and security agencies by the government of Pakistan. I think now this is the need of the time that Pakistan government and Pakistan security agencies, Pakistan security forces take firm measures.
We've also seen a statement come from the ISPR about this, and as far as strategizing the overall foreign policy, our foreign policy at this time vis-a-vis the security situation is also in the works, right?
Absolutely right. In fact, Pakistan has been negotiating with Taliban and the terrorists. They don't deserve any sort of negotiations now, because Pakistan has shown soft corner and soft measures taken by the government of Pakistan, which they have misunderstood. And they have understood it like it is the weakness of the government and the state. But it is not the weakness of the state and the government. It was a goodwill gesture by the government and by the state of Pakistan, which have been taken for granted. Now, the, it is enough. Enough is enough now. Pakistan and the security forces of Pakistan will have to crush the terrorists across the country, not only on sectarian basis, but also on any base which is imposed on Pakistan. And Pakistan is suffering politically, Pakistan is in trouble economically, and Pakistan is in trouble because of the
Do you think
terrorism.
it's also the fact that we've seen, you know, as far as overall the political situation is concerned, of course, you know, the vulnerability factor as far as we're concerned, as you know, stemming from that kind of perhaps slightly volatile political situation is also one of the, you know, it finds these kind of reasons, they find these kind of reasons to come, you know, start coming up with this lapse as far as,
Yes.
you know, the overall, we've seen the attacks and all that that have come recently.
Absolutely right. MAHRUKH, in fact, politically unstable countries always face such sort of tensions and such sort of terrorism. Pakistan has been politically unstable during the last 1 year in particular. And this instability has caused economic instability and also caused law and order situation in the country. The terrorism, you know, the terrorists all the time, they take loopholes. They take corners, and the windows which are provided by the political instability of Pakistan. Pakistan need to be stable. Pakistani politicians and Pakistani stakeholders will have to sit down and chart out the agenda for the political stability of the country. Political stability of the country will lead to the economic stability of the country. And when Pakistan is economically stable, we will be in the position to combat terrorism very well.
Right, let me come back to you. Dr. Togrul, of course, you know, what Naveed Saab is saying is, you know, he's talking about our own situation as far as our economy is concerned, as far as our, you know, we've seen the opposition, unfortunately, not have that kind of working relationship that one would like with the government. And because of that, there has been agitational style of politics that also has led to, you know, what a slightly, one can say, a volatile political situation. All of those things are there, those factors are there. But as far as the National Action Plan is concerned, do you think that, you know, we saw implementation on it, but is there more need to implement it? What is the overall, your overall assessment of that?
MAHRUKH Sahab, the National Action Plan was prepared in 2014 after the dastardly attack on the APS.
Yes.
And initially it was implemented in letter and spirit, and then as the situation stabilized, we started ignoring many things which we shouldn't have. And we know that the past 1 year there have been an upsurge in terrorism, and the killings that the security men took have taken their toll. It has the number has increased. So if you have to completely finish terrorism, you cannot leave it halfway. So National Action Plan was a good start. It had to be modified, it had to be improved, the various structures there, the intelligence structure, the technical
But overall, in terms, what are some of the areas you feel we need to concentrate on more as far as the National Action Plan
very
is
strong
concerned?
policy, very strong policy. Although the current Prime Minister has said that there is a certain threshold and he will not tolerate anything beyond that. So you have to show strong, very strong.
You're saying that kind of resolve. Of course, we have the resolve, and of course, we will not tolerate any kind of move to destabilize our security. There's no doubt about that. But overall, you were saying that we need perhaps you know, a more aggressive approach.
Absolutely. The last 1 year, we have been not been very resolute, and we saw what happened in Malakand. Then people came out in the streets and they demanded that they needed more security. You allowed the Taliban to regroup and become stronger. So they should be given a chance to regroup and start attacking people.
Let me come back to you. We have with us Gohar Masood, who's a security analyst. Ji, Gohar Saab, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ji, Gaur Saab, we're talking about the overall security situation at this time. Of course, the cause of concern for as far as the security forces is concerned, the government is concerned, the military is concerned. We saw as far as the National Security Committee is concerned, their meeting, and those are to continue. Overall, as far as the National Action Plan are concerned, what are some of those areas you feel that we need to now, come back to work on, or where, perhaps when the last government left off, those areas, those lacunas have been left open?
Well, thank you so much. Actually, this national security policy and national action plan, the government and the government institutions or state institutions started work on it back in 2014 or 2015. But till now, we are having national security committees, and we have meetings of these committees. The thing is that after Army Public School attack, the Pakistani government had established a national action plan, but we couldn't see the results that was actually established for. I would say that recently, as my other friends are saying, that security threats are very much these days in Pakistan, especially the last months. But again, I would say that we are lacking with the implementation of our policies regarding security.
Because also, recently we've had the Prime Minister talk about coordination as far as, on a national level, on federal, the provinces, all of that, as far as that coordination is concerned. Let me come back to you. I'll go to Naveed Saab. Naveed Saab, that coordination also is certainly needed on all fronts. I don't think there's any doubt about that, right?
In fact, the security agencies and the armed forces, all the agencies are busy or active in maintaining law and order situation in the country. I think they lack coordination. They need to be coordinated. They need to be well connected, and intelligence should be shared with each other. This National Security Committee and National Security agenda, we can have our good results because of the coordination. If we find coordination among different agencies, we'll be in very good position to find very good results regarding law and order situation.
What do you think what is the problem as far as coordination is concerned? Is it because at this time, of course, we don't have, there are different governments in different provinces. What is the problem as far as coordination is concerned?
This is one of the problems, that different provinces are being governed by the different political parties, but it doesn't mean that any political party should compromise national security of Pakistan. There should be zero level tolerance as far as the coordination is concerned, and as far as combating terrorism is concerned. All the provincial governments, all the security agencies, and the armed forces, the government of Pakistan, the state of Pakistan, will have to come on one point agenda conclusion, that they are facing terrorism, and they will have to combat terrorism by all means, and zero level tolerance should be opted against the terrorists. Merciless actions should be taken against the terrorists across the country. No matter
we saw the foreign minister also speak yesterday. What is your overall assessment of, he talked about he talked about foreign policy also, he talked about the direction, and of course no tolerance again, which is what you're talking about. What is your take on that?
Absolutely right. The foreign policy should be reviewed. Pakistan has done a lot for Afghanistan. Pakistan has done beyond its limitations for the betterment of Afghanistan, and the Afghan government has never been very much supportive and very much optimistic for as far as the Pakistan-Afghanistan relations are concerned. Uh, Pakistan will have to send their delegations to Afghanistan and engage their counterparts. Uh, Pakistan need to raise this issue of terrorism to the Afghan government, because we are facing problem from the Afghan side, and TTP is being supported by the Afghan Taliban. This is now very much clear. There is no doubt about that, and Pakistan will have to to stand up um, as far as the Afghan government is concerned.
Let me come back to you. Let me come back to you, Dr. Togril. Do you know engagement of the Afghan government at this time? Of course, we will, and we have also, made known the concerns that we feel. But overall, how do you look at this engagement? Because we saw, making our concerns known. And having them react, of course, I mean, that is something that Pakistan government has done and will do.
The Afghan government is taking you for granted, and that is a wrong thing. We don't need to send any delegation to them. We just have to tell them, look here, we would not tolerate if your soil is used for attacks against us. And I think that has been our constant demand from them. Even before the Taliban regime came into power, we said that we would not tolerate any safe havens being made on Afghan soil. So I think this is a very fair demand. This is in our national interest. It is hurting us, and we should tell it very clearly to the Taliban.
What do you think? What is responsible for this kind of terrorism that's now we've seen this rise? Of course, the fact that there is, in terms of the situation in Afghanistan at this time, clearly, from a humanitarian angle, in terms of assistance, which is what initially, why Pakistan got involved, of course, because we wanted to give them that kind of humanitarian, whatever little we could, considering the situation at that time. And now, do you think there's a lot of division also within the ranks of Taliban, within the ranks of the Afghan government and Afghan Taliban also?
As far as humanitarian aid goes, we should not shy away from it, because it's not the Taliban who deserve the humanitarian aid.
But the people,
the people, they are,
and that's what initially.
Yeah. So what we are doing was basically because of the people who are suffering from the harsh weather and who are suffering from drought and from other things. But as far as policy matters are concerned, I think the Taliban should know that we will not tolerate that, and there are clear indicators that they are supporting the Taliban on our side, and it's becoming a very vicious game now. It's not only Taliban on our side, it's a BLA and it's other people who are joining hands, and they are making it extremely difficult for our security forces to operate along the areas which were former FATA.
What about the border? Let me come back to you. Gohar Saab, what about our border situation at this time?
Well, MAHRUKH, I would say this last year, the situation on Pak-Afghan border is really worst situation. Though we are here in different media platform reporting that the situations are not that much bad, but I would say, because I belong from the same tribal, one of the tribal districts, since last 1.5 year or 2 years, the situations are really very bad. But currently, when the Afghan Taliban take over the control in Afghanistan, and after that, here in Pakistan, we also started negotiation with the TTP, the Pakistan Tehrik-e-Taliban, the banned organization. After that, the situations really got worse, especially in North Waziristan and South Waziristan, and District Tank and Dera Ismail Khan. Every day we can see different attacks, target killings. The target killings is really in a very high level. Especially as the last day, the TTP has issued a statement. They were claiming around 360 attacks in Pakistan. So this is a very big amount. Similarly, CRSS, a think tank group, has also issued a statement that 282 Pakistani officials have been killed in this 2020. So on the border areas, it's really a very panic situation. The people in the tribal areas, they are scared like they were scared back in 2015, 14, or the decade of 2010. So the people of that area are having the same situation even after the Banu incident, Banu jail incident, and some other incidents. The people are got much scared. Every day you can see the target killing, you can see attacks on security officials, and even the the businessmen or the politicians, they are getting calls, threatening calls. They are getting calls for money and ransom and things. So I would say like the life on the tribal areas, in the tribal areas are in the border. It's like a hell. The people are facing a different kind of issues. Many people, I know them, they are leaving the area once again and they are moving to the other cities of Pakistan. Again, this will create the situations like we faced the situations in 2008, 2010, and especially in 2014 when Operation Zarb Asb was started. So in those areas, all the businesses, the tourism, are other activities that are very good for the local people, for their business, for their livelihood, they are destroyed. No one can do their businesses for their livelihood. So those people who are still living there, they are very poor. They cannot afford to move other areas. Otherwise, there would be no other option. They can stay in that areas. On those
Right,
basis,
okay.
you cannot identify like some people are saying that these IES guys, these TTP guys, are some Afghan Taliban guys who are entering into Pakistan, and they are carrying attacks on different security officials and on those guys who are not paying for the monies. So all these things are like in the area, in the region, it's a very kind of situation that people cannot express their happiness, their move forward things. Recently in Dera Ismail Khan, there are too many attacks. In Banu, we have seen that people had protested. They started setting. We saw the situations in Sawat against the terrorism and all these things. So right now the situations are really worse. But I would say that before starting peace negotiation between Pakistan and Pakistani Taliban TTP, there must be some ways. Even in the last Security Council meeting, there was no sign that why the peace process got failed. Since now why we cannot implement the national policies against terrorism, because in Nawaz Sharif era in 2014, basically this National Security Council was planned and established till 2014, and now this is 2023. We are still pointing the questions why we are not successful, because I think that we need to work very openly and clearly. Uh, the state institutions, organizations, and the government institutions and organizations, they
Right.
must come on
Let
one
me
platform.
Let me take this to Naveed Sab, and I'll come back to Dr. Sab after this. Ji, Naveed Sab, you've been listening to what Gohar Mahsood Sab is saying. As far as our overall situation is concerned, of course, it's concerning, and we have, like all institutions, on board in coordination with each other as far as, to take up this, the situation that seems to be, as far as the security situation is concerned. But overall, let's go back to the National Action Plan. Let's talk about the areas where we have not been able to achieve as much as we should, for our own, as far as our own security is concerned. Let's talk about those areas.
In fact, an action plan should have been implemented long before. Now, during the last couple of years, in fact, in particular, if we consider last 1 year, Pakistan has been relaxed on terrorism issue. This was the time when Taliban, they got stronger and they backlashed. Pakistan has long been suffering from this monster. So Pakistan should be vigilant enough and should take should take firm measures on continual basis. Pakistan will have to formulate national security policy on permanent basis and keep an eye on the borders. I think the nexus, India-Afghan nexus is very strong, and India-Pakistan-Taliban nexus is also seen. So Pakistan have to address that nexus as well, and to destroy that nexus, to save Pakistan and to combat terrorism.
Let me come back to you, Ji. Dr. Sab, I think that's a very relevant point when Naveed Sab talks about the nexus. As far as India is concerned, their involvement, one can clearly say that comes from Afghanistan, through Afghanistan. And to take up that, we've also had, in the past instances that have clearly pointed out towards their interference. A lot of this indicates that the new spate of terrorism also, do you feel it indicates that perhaps there is more involvement from there?
MAHRUKH Sahib, anybody who is against you will make use of terrorists to destabilize your country. And I think the only way forward is if we say that our plan is to root out all kinds of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, which we have been saying so often, but we have not been following up on it. We've been talking to the Taliban, which I think has been a failure on our part. There is a law which has been passed which says that we will not permit any militias, and the National Action Plan, the 20 points that they are there, also says that we will not tolerate any kind of militias. But we are still tolerating Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is an umbrella group in which we have a number of the Taliban groups which have coalesced under it. So they have to be rooted out, they have to be eliminated, and there should be no quarters given to them. In any case, they are brutal people. They are not anybody, people who can be talked to. They are not people who are reasonable. They are unreasonable people. They will kill you, they will butcher you, they will behead you, they will do bad things with your daughters and women folk. Look what the Taliban are doing in Afghanistan. They have stopped the education of girls. And the fact of the matter is, it's not just tribal areas, as my friend was saying. It's Islamabad itself. We were seeing the photograph of the policeman who was killed while he was trying to stop a terrorist entering into Islamabad. So the threat, the terrorism has come back to Islamabad. It had become a very peaceful city, and explosions was a thing of the past. But this is a wake-up call for all of us. So there is a need to totally eliminate them, and that should be the crux of the national security meeting. And the plan that the government makes should very clearly lay out that we will not tolerate them. Tehreek-Taliban Pakistan will be eliminated, full stop. And anybody who is helping them, whether it's India, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's anybody else, will be.
And of course, political. Let me go to Gohar Saab. Gohar Saab, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
As
you.
far as political unity is concerned, certainly, that also is needed at this time on all fronts when trying to deal with this challenge as far as this terrorism, this new spate of terrorism is concerned. There can't be any other opinion on this. I mean, this is two opinions on this. There's no, I mean, there's clarity and there is sufficient clarity on that. Do you think we can achieve that kind of political unity over this?
Well, I wish this could be a very good wish, but as far as we have seen in the past, the political leadership is not on one point. Even if they are saying that we are against terrorists or we are the terrorists are enemies of Pakistan, but I would say that they have different policies internally. Right now, many political leaders are, in contacts with the Taliban. We have seen many things, even the Taliban's letters, the Taliban calls to the different political politicians and political parties workers. Here the question is, if the political leadership came on one point, on one agenda against the terrorism, I believe that there is no other option to succeed. Even if there is someone else who is creating some hurdles in all this process, that will be also, failed. But the thing is that our political parties and political leaders need to come sit together and decide one
Let me
point.
take Naveed Saab's input on this. Naveed Saab. We saw the recent, we saw the recent press conference from the former Prime Minister also, and overall the kind of reactions that have come. How do you look at the overall situation? Do you think we can achieve any kind of unity on this?
We can achieve and we need to achieve. In fact, this is the time of unity. Unless we are united on terrorism issue, we can't achieve this goal. In fact, the behavior of Imran Khan regarding the instability of the political instability of the country, I'm very sorry to say Pakistan has been suffering because of his behaviors, and unstable Pakistan is in the best interest of the terrorism.
Only the enemies, yes.
What we need to do, what we need to do, we need to call all parties conference on one point to combat terrorism, if and without wasting even a moment. And I think, being the most responsible politicians, the leaders of the political parties, all the political parties should come over and put their suggestions to combat to combat terrorism. All the stakeholders should be taken in confidence, and once the decision is made, the armed forces should go for ruthless operations against terrorism and the terrorists.
We talk about all parties conference. We talk about having all parties, but isn't Parliament the right forum which is empowered to take up these issues, to talk about the policy as far as, and there is of course the National Security Committee also.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. All the parties.
Unfortunately, we have an opposition at this time that's not in Parliament.
Yes. PTI should come in the Parliament, sit and discuss the issue of terrorism in the Parliament, and then make a unanimous decision to combat this monster. This decision
you think they will come back if they, there has been refusal by the PTI to come back to the assemblies. You think in that kind of an environment they will come for an all parties conference on terrorism?
If they don't come, it will be very much clear that they are not interested in the stability in political or economic or law and order situation. They are not interested in the stability of the country. So keeping them aside, then we are not going to put Pakistan in trouble just if Imran Khan is not favoring it. The government will have to take the decision, back it, give their decision to the armed forces, and armed forces should go for the implementation of the operations against the terrorism, and that's all.
Okay,
If Imran Khan comes, it's okay. If he doesn't come, he will be exposed to the nation that he is least interested in combating in the decision of combating terrorism on this scale.
Let me come back to you. Ji, Dr. Saab, we also have a clause in the NAB, as far as NACTA is concerned, and coordination of on all fronts is concerned, and yet, that wasn't. Do you think it was followed?
The coordination has been weak, I would say, but this doesn't mean that
coordination between all agencies.
All agencies is not at the optimum level, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be. I think we can, even if political parties are divided about various things, we can still have a national policy which can be an improvement upon the National Action Plan, which makes it incumbent on all agencies to come together. Their weekly meetings or monthly meetings or whatever should be increased, and there should be more synergy among them. They should not be acting on their own. The counter-terrorism forces do listen to the federal government. They don't act on their own. So I don't think it should be a big problem working on those lines.
As far as overall, we saw there was, as far as the National Action Plan was concerned, as far as our whole concentration was concerned, we saw, a certain kind of zealousness, and then, perhaps do you think that there has been perhaps during the last government there has been some stepping away from that, perhaps not as much concentration on some of those points, which of course we are seeing some results at this time?
The fatal flaw in our governance is one, lack of policy or consistency in our policy. So if sometimes we talk to the Taliban, sometimes we don't talk to the Taliban, this gives a very an impression that we are not very serious. So all governments have been talking to them. Unfortunately, they should talk to them. I think the only way forward is to have a very kinetic plan, and obviously the political aspect should be there, and there should be political ownership. Whoever is the Prime Minister should not leave it to the military or other law enforcement
Do you
agencies.
think we have, as far as our long-term policy is concerned, the way America withdrew from Afghanistan, do you think that we had, perhaps the flaw was that we didn't have that kind of long-term policy on what to do after the kind of change that we saw?
You're absolutely right. Our Afghan policy has not been consistent. We did not foresee what is going to happen, although the writing was very much on the wall. The Americans had to leave, whether it was the way they left on the 15th of August 2020, or it could have been a year later, but we had not looked beyond that. We had not conjured up the scenario in which the Taliban would have taken over. So I think there has been flaws at the policy level on our part, and the political ownership usually is lacking. We are making decisions based on.
But you're saying that we need you're saying that we need to completely negate talks and move towards a full-forced operation if needed.
Absolutely. Talk to them later, but once from a position of strength, but not now when they feel that they are in a position of strength and they can dictate terms to you. So you don't talk to them.
But how are they in a position of strength? Overall, the situation in Afghanistan is quite dire. They have lack of resources.
They're not bothered about their people. You see, they're stopping women from attending universities, women from working for NGOs, young girls from going to school. They are lashing women going out for making daily purchases. So they are losing popularity. This is not the impression that they gave when they came into power. They said this time over
things
Taliban,
will be different,
Taliban
and we will allow
Taliban 2.0
education.
will be different. It is no different. So to say that they are popular in their country, I doubt it very much. And as far as my information goes, there are internal divisions among them.
That's what I was coming to, as far as
and yesterday, a young professor, 35 years of age, he tore up his degrees in a live talk show, and he said, my daughter will be going into the 6th grade, and after that there will be no education for her. So people are upset. It's not just that everything is hunky-dory in Afghanistan. People are upset, and not everybody is happy with what the present dispensation is doing there.
Right. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Your quick comments, Naveed Saab, and then we'll unfortunately have to close.
In fact, the last suicidal attack in Islamabad should be the last one. It is an indication that the things are very serious. So the government of Pakistan will have to take firm measures and will have to clear everything to Afghanistan, to India, and will have to clear the security forces of Pakistan for the action, for the operations, ruthless operations against the terrorists in the country, in KPK, in Balochistan in particular.
Right.
So that we should not face such incident once again.
Ji Gaur Saab.
Well, I would say that against successful operations of the terrorism, the security agencies and political leadership and political parties must be on one point agenda, and they should not, leg pull each other. That would be the great point. Otherwise, we will fight for more than other 20 or 30 years, and we will not success.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Tuqul Yameen, thank you for joining us. Gaur Mahsood Saab, thank you for being with us. Naveed Aman Khan, thank you for joining us today. Overall, as far as the situation stands, of course, the government has talked about increasing coordination on a national and federal level. Also, the security meeting, as far as the national security meeting is going to continue on Monday. There doesn't seem to be two opinions on the fact that there needs to be an aggressive stance to combat this recent spike in terrorism, and Pakistan stands together as far as combating our efforts to counter this kind of terrorism that we've recently seen. We certainly hope for political unity at this time. We certainly hope that all parties, irrespective of their own agenda, will come together and put Pakistan first. Thank you so much for joining us today on President.